How's it going, guys? Today we're going to be talking about the iPhone 6 in 2023. How does it hold up several years later? First off, let's talk about this design. This is a very familiar design that's actually on still some iPhones today. It's a very similar design to the iPhone SE, the newest generation, and it has the same screen and everything like that. So it's very similar in that way. And honestly, it's not too bad. It's an aluminum back, and the sides are also all aluminum. One thing that you won't see in the new iPhone SE or 8 or anything like that will be this headphone jack, which is a pretty nice thing to have overall. We also got Touch ID on the bottom and the Apple logo on the back, as well as the iPhone. So, how is this display? Well, it's an HD Plus panel, about 750p, which does mean that it's a Retina display. And that also means that you can't really see any pixels at all, even up very, very close. Overall brightness is pretty good. However, in daylight, even though it's readable, it's not amazing, as you can tell right here. So, how is the performance? Well, this has the Apple A8 chip with 1GB of RAM. And on iOS 12.5.4, performance is really good. Overall, things run smoothly. Most apps run pretty well, besides the very heavy ones, but most apps run well. However, due to it not being on the latest iOS, not all apps are going to be supported. As well as that, not all games will be supported either, and games that do run probably won't run too well. Obviously, 2D titles will do pretty good. However, any 3D titles such as Call of Duty, that is unplayable, but anything else like Dead Trigger 2 probably won't run at a full 60 FPS or maybe not even at a full 30. And that's where you really see this age with the iPhone 6. The software is too old and there's not enough RAM to support high intensive games. Where you'll also see its age is in the camera. This is an 8 megapixel rear facing camera, and this is a 1.2 megapixel front facing camera. One thing that is nice though is that you can record up to 1080p at 60 FPS, which is really nice. So, how do photos look on here? Well, overall, it is pretty bright, and it is pretty nice for an 8 megapixel camera. However, there are several problems with this too. There is a low amount of detail, and also there's pretty high noise. However, overall, it will be actually pretty comparable to some newer iPhones. Not something like an iPhone 14. However, it will be comparable to a newer iPhone like the iPhone X or XS or an iPhone 8. This is just because Apple really started getting good at fine-tuning their colors around this time. And because of that, this means that this image overall is still pretty good. Let's do a speaker and video test right here at 1080p 60 FPS. This is a 1080p 60 FPS video test on the iPhone 6s. Overall, colors do look really good with 1080p 60 FPS, and it is very smooth. However, HDR isn't great and detail is mediocre. The same could be said for the selfie camera. The detail isn't that great and the video is pretty mediocre, as well as the colors not really being spot on. There's also not that much any really dynamic range on here, and it usually overexposes my face. Also, about the speaker, this is a single bottom firing speaker, and overall, it doesn't do a very good job. It's very tinny, and it's not sufficient for 2023. Battery life is something that really shows its age on its phone. Usually, you can only get 3 to 4 hours of screen on time, and that's if you're lucky. If you do any sort of gaming or run any sort of high-intensive apps, it will usually die within 2 hours or maybe 3. This is not sufficient for 2023 at all. And that kind of ends up my conclusion because overall, this phone is not sufficient for 2023. There's too many things wrong with it. The battery isn't good, the camera is mediocre, the performance is mediocre, and there's only 1 GB of RAM. Overall, this I would not recommend. Also, this is not on the latest software. Unless you can find this for under 25 to 30 bucks, I would not recommend this phone. I would recommend going to at least an iPhone 7 or an iPhone 8, which will have a very similar design to this, but much, much better performance and a much better camera. Anyways, guys, that's about it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think of the iPhone 6 because I really want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, etc. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next one.